Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, and I am joined here on this very special post-WWE Hell in a Cell Monday edition. Michael Weissman was at the Foo Fighters concert in New York last night. Dave Chappelle crashed, so he can't be here today because I'm guessing he's all partied out. But in his stead, we are gifted with the legendary, the veteran WWE referee, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here live today on the Daily.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come on here and chat with you, Nick. Mind you, the Foo Fighters does sound like an intriguing alternative, but Hell in a Cell last night, I enjoyed it, along with some baklava cheesecake. It doesn't get much better than that.
Baklava cheesecake. Is that where you take the baklava and you make the pie, the crust out of it with that? Is that what that is?
I'm not. I don't know how it was made. I don't know if I could plug the bakery up here in Toronto. I would give them a free plug here on but Costa's Bakery here. It's their own kind of creation, like a little bit of a left turn on traditional Greek baklava. It's awesome.
Okay, that sounds really. I like both baklava and cheesecake, so I'll try to find this.
The best of both worlds.
Well, we got a big show here. We are going to talk Hell in a Cell. We are live. We have a live comments feed going, Jimmy. So, like, throughout the show, if you're watching us and you want to, like, get your foot, you want to get feedback in, you want to tell us how you're doing, you want to tell us how we're doing, you want to compliment my floral shirt today. I'm feeling summery today, Jimmy, you know. But I could do this thing, Jimmy, live on the show. See, like, Praddock here, he said, hello, good morning, guys. His comments on the screen there, and then I take it away.
Oh, nice. I like that. I'll let you handle the technical stuff. I'll just ramble and rant it when appropriate.
Don't worry about it. And then if you're listening to us in audio form, if you've subscribed to the Wrestling Inc. Daily, after we talk the news of the day, you're going to hear my conversation with NXT's Frankie Monet. If you are watching us in video form here right now, we are less than an hour away from the premiere in video form of my interview with Frankie over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. It works just like this, where we have a comment section. And even though it's not live, you can still chat along as we watch the video and all that, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive into the mailbag. We're going to look at who you'd like to see Roman Reigns feud with next, and that'll bring us right into news you can use, news that'll leave a bruise. Yeah, the big news. I mean, I want to start here with what happened on SmackDown first, then we can get to what happened on Sunday. They did the sell on SmackDown. Roman Reigns defeated Rey Mysterio. What did you think about the decision to do that? How do you think it came across? Pros and cons of that, what they did?
Of course, pros and cons. Putting it on SmackDown, a lot of people are speculating as to why it was moved from the pay-per-view proper to SmackDown. A lot of people are thinking to try and boost the ratings on SmackDown. I think there's a different idea behind it. I thought that the WWE were having two cell matches on the pay-per-view already. To have a third would kind of be a little bit of overkill.
Okay.
You know, it's tough enough having two similar matches and trying to make them distinctly different. I think moving it to SmackDown also took a lot of focus away from Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns, that match on Friday, Roman Reigns is just on a different level right now. Yeah. And that match with Rey was just amazing. And getting away from the smart fan approach to it. You know, obviously, we pretty much had an idea that Rey wasn't going to win, but we wanted to see how he was going to do, present himself in the match, because Rey's a legend, and he was awesome. But at the same time, if you were a casual fan just tuning in and weren't, concerned with the behind the scenes stuff and the peek behind the curtain,
yeah.
If you're a casual fan, there were times on Friday night where you actually thought that, hey, man, maybe Rey does have a chance at beating this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like in the real world, in smart parlance, it doesn't make sense from a storyline perspective, but at the same time, I think they did a good job of telling that story. And I think moving it to SmackDown was a good move also, because you don't want to take away from what was presented as the main event, Drew and Bobby.
And I think that's the bigger thing. I think, they haven't been able to let Lashley shine in the main event spot ever since Roman has been kind of on a similar trajectory to him. And last night we did get to see Lashley retain over Drew McIntyre after this like intense cell match, and he wins with this roll up after a distraction there from MVP. A lot of fans, I'm reading a lot of fans upset with that finish. Felt it was a little flat. What did you think about that finish there for that bout?
I wouldn't have minded if we didn't see a roll-up finish earlier in the evening where it made more sense in the Cesaro-Seth Rollins match. After these guys just pounded the living you-know-what out of each other, I mean, like, that was very physical. I mean, like, when you talk about physical matchups, boy, oh boy, and you saw the scars on Drew.
It looked like he was, like, bleeding at one point in the match from, like, right here on his shoulder. It was gross.
No, I mean, look, they both upped the game. They both paid the price. They both, and I get it. There was the distraction there by MVP and the whole bit like that. I just thought that the finish came off for all the destruction, all the pounding and all the beating that was going on. The finish came off flat.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, you think Hell in a Cell, and I think Lashley had teased in an interview last week, like maybe there was going to be some big spot or spectacle. You know, you think of how these matches usually end in some kind of dramatic way. That's not how they're showing off the air. You know, like, really, the only one of the Cell matches we saw that really felt like it maybe deserved it was the one we saw on Friday on SmackDown. Not to be a disservice to Bianca and Bayley, who I thought had a really, I mean, on really short notice too. I mean, this thing was only advertised like 48 hours in advance. I thought I had a hell of a bout, but didn't feel like it needed to be inside Hell in a Cell.
No, I agree with that. It didn't need to be, but it also allowed these women to show that they could be on the same level as the guys.
Sure.
And I thought they showed that very well. You know, two tough spots to be in the Cell, but also opening the show and you know, in the famous words of Marvin the Martian, where's the kaboom? Where's the earth-shattering kaboom? We got that in the opening one, but we didn't get that at the end of the night. And I think that's what we were alluding to, that finish with Drew and Bobby came off flat. And both guys really, like, tore it up before that.
Yeah.
It's just sad that for me anyways, that it ended that way, because I don't think it did any favors for Bobby or for Drew for that matter.
Yeah. And we'll see here, because like part of the stipulation with Drew now is that he can't go on and face Lashley again while he's got the title. So that would seemingly be finally the end of the road for these two. I think it's gone a little long in the tooth for most. And that could open up, you know, maybe something else for Drew. So I want to stick here in the men's main event picture here. With Drew losing like he did, you know, it wasn't necessarily clean, right? MVP's in the cage, a distraction. He's got a case to be made, I guess, that, right, it wasn't necessarily a clean victory or whatever. Does he go to SmackDown? Is he the next guy for Roman Reigns? Like, what do you think you do with Drew here in this situation?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I mean, you can make that argument where you can move him to SmackDown, especially considering what's coming up soon. But I don't know if I'd make that move right now, because, you know, we're hearing a lot of rumors. We're hearing a lot of speculation of who's next for Roman Reigns. And I like the story on the progression, on the path that it's going on right now with Roman Reigns and the issues with the family, with Jimmy and Jay, and, you know, talk about a possible family member returning at some point down the road and stuff like that. I like that trajectory. I don't want to, you know, make a detour from that yet, at least anyways.
I gotcha. And we have here Joseph and Diddy, a couple fans agreeing with him here as well. I'm guessing Drew's going to win the Money in the Bank, and he'll be on his way back into the title picture, and that'll be the path that he takes here on the road to whatever may be next.
The question is, though, will he be able to cash it in on Bobby Lashley? Regardless of the fact that it is Money in the Bank, he still cannot challenge Bobby for the title, regardless of, unless they make a stipulation that if he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, that nullifies the previous stipulation.
And so,
and if they do that, then why have that stipulation in the first place?
I don't know, Jimmy. Why do they do a lot of things, right? Like
exactly.
everything in wrestling is written in pencils, because sometimes you need erasers to go back and take care of things. Right? Yeah. Remember Brian Pillman? He fought that pencil? Anyway.
Yeah.
Fightful reporting that Brock Lesnar, WWE, they've also been in recent talks about Lesnar coming back to the company. Report noted that WWE has plans in place for the superstar and are hoping his return could be imminent. No word when he'll be back on TV, but while responding to a tweet from a fan on Sunday night, MVP tweeted, "Lesnar fears Lashley." Now, they've gone all the way and more than I thought they would go with Lashley to this point. I really thought there was a good chance, whether it be at Mania in front of fans or building up to Money in the Bank or maybe even SummerSlam, Drew was going to get that win. It doesn't look like it's going to go that way. I mean, Lashley Lesnar, seems, if the reports of Reigns and Cena being true, that seems more likely, doesn't it?
It feels like it, and it also could add to a different story. You can kind of mesh two storylines together, one from SmackDown, one from Raw. We see Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns right now, and it is working gangbusters. Now, let's say Brock were to return and come to Raw to eventually, challenge Bobby Lashley, and Paul were to align himself with Brock as well as Roman Reigns. And then somewhere down the road, Roman turns to Paul and says, "Hey, you got to make a choice here. It's either him or me. You can't have it both ways." And have Paul have to make that decision now. And maybe somewhere down the road, you have that Brock Roman face off.
I'll take it a step further. Like, what if before there's this immediate, like, using Paul Heyman like this centerpiece of a rope in a tug of war, what if these guys decide maybe us working together and running the locker room with Paul is not a terrible idea? What if there's like a mutual respect between Brock and Roman, and before we get to Brock and Roman going, at each other's throats with Paul caught in the middle, maybe there's a little 2-man power trip on a, another level there with Brock and Roman to be had.
I like that idea. I like where that's going. And then, again, not rushing it. Take your time, tell that story, and then somewhere down the road, you have that discussion. Who's the head of the table?
Exactly.
Is it Brock? Is it? No, I like that. I like where you're going with this.
Because there's a lot of history with those two, right? We've seen them at each other's throats a couple times, I think, at WrestleMania at this point. So
yeah,
maybe maybe it's different this time. Take it in a different direction. So what I was going to get at here real quick before we get to some of the comments again is, it seems like, I mean, what do you think, Roman Cena? You think that's likely? You think that's the route this goes?
It seems to be. I would love to see it, because I'll tell you what, Roman Cena will be off the chain. Those two guys, the promos alone will be worth the price of admission, in my opinion. And it goes along getting invested. Cena's been away long enough that where when he comes back, it's just going to be curious to see how the live crowd reacts to both. Obviously Roman now as this monster heel, I would hope he gets the proper reaction that a heel would get, instead of the, "Hey man, this is really cool. I'm loving this Roman Reigns." I want that old reaction, like, "Man, this guy is an SOB and I want to see him get his butt kicked." And, "Oh, here comes John Cena, the ultimate good guy." You know what I mean? I hope that's the reaction we get from the live crowd. I'm just not convinced that we might get that.
I do think that with as good as Roman has been at, like, of all the people that have kind of found their voice in this voiceless time, like, I think that there's an ace in the pocket that Roman's got, that if he knows he gets that reaction where everybody just is standing ovation, I got to think there's a line or a move or a make that him and Paul have. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know how bad. We already saw nearly murder Dominic Mysterio to keep his heat, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you cheer that man against Rey Mysterio, right? Like, so undeniably a heel. I have a feeling he's maybe prepared for that moment. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something they've got in store for that fight.
And then if he were to do something diabolical, so to speak, to John Cena, the ultimate good guy, maybe it helps further that dislike for him.
I'll also kind of throw into this conversation as well. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll throw it in now because it's a natural line of thought. But Bray Wyatt, right? He's being advertised for, Raw shows here coming up in the summer, August 9th in the Amway Center from Orlando. Very possible The Fiend is also being advertised for other local shows. PW Insider saying he was purposely kept off TV for some unknown reason. It is not a case of Wyatt having heat for anything, as he's well liked in the company, but there's no word on why he hasn't been brought back yet. Would you bring him back as a main eventer? Would you make him the foil for upper mid card, or what would you do with The Fiend in this situation?
See, that's a tough call, but like I like to say, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? Let people kind of forget about him, and they have. But the problem is when you're continuing to have Alexa Bliss on television as well,
right.
That makes people go, "Well, where's the Fiend? I want to see the Fiend. Why isn't he showing up?" If Alexa Bliss were also, and I don't want to see her off television, don't get me wrong. It's, but from a storyline perspective, having her on makes people think, "Where's the Fiend? I want to see the Fiend. What's he going to do?" When he does come back, it has to be very impactful. It has to be something that stands out. It has to be something that makes people want to be invested in what happens. And that's the tough part. Does he go right after a Bobby Lashley, let's say, or right out of the gate, or does he? But then who is upper mid card now? Everybody seems to be,
The name that's glaring and that I was earlier thinking about, like, where does this leave him right now, would be like Drew McIntyre, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seemingly Lashley will be preoccupied with Lesnar or something else. I mean, Drew could be in that Money in the Bank picture. That makes a lot of sense as well. But we haven't really seen the Fiend try to mentally break apart, in this situation, a kind of vulnerable Drew McIntyre, right? I mean, there could be something to that.
Yeah. What if he tries to lure Drew to the dark side? Embrace this evil side that you have inside you, because I feel it. I see it there, Drew. It is there. It's waiting to come out. Embrace it. Come with me. Follow me. That kind of sort of thing. And almost like you're trying to restart what they had before, but not really.
Yeah, 100%. So I could see something to that. All right. Well, I saw this comment up here earlier. I wanted to call out Kevin here. This is from Instagram. I think Rhea and Flair should have been in the cell. You commented on this last night. A lot of fans were very unhappy with the finish to Rhea and Charlotte. So explain to everybody why this DQ was a DQ.
Okay, from a rule standpoint, yes, there have been people who've been thrown into the table, have been slammed on the table, and it's not been a disqualification. I kind of look at it similar to this. It's like when you use the stairs. When you're outside the ring and you whip someone into the stairs, it's not a disqualification. But if you pick up that top section of stairs and you waffle somebody with it, now it's a disqualification because you've used an object to hit someone with it. You haven't thrown someone into the object like that. In that case, the ring post, the barricade would all be a DQ if you throw someone into it. What Rhea did was she took the hood off the top of the table and swung it and hit her like you would a chair or something, or the top set of the stairs.
Sure.
That's why it was a disqualification. Now, whether you like the finish or not is a different story, but that's why the referee called for the bell.
So could you set up a chair and then throw somebody through the chair and then that would be legal?
Well, technically speaking, you know what? Why not?
Okay.
Of course you can. Now, the question is, because you set the chair up there. Okay. That's the gray area now you're getting into a little bit, because you set up the chair. If the chair was there that somebody was sitting in and you go to shoot him and that guy, jumps out of the way and then they go into the chair. Now it's okay.
What about the drop toe hold spot into a chair? Like I put the chair in the middle of the ring. I do a drop toe hold. I drop you face first into the chair. DQ, no DQ.
I would have to say it's a DQ, but then again, I've seen more egregious stuff that wasn't a DQ. So it depends on who's agenting the match and what kind of finish they want. That's for sure.
Yeah. Man. So, because like Daniel Price here pointed out, lots of people have used chairs as a springboard in matches to go out to the outside, which is totally fair game, right? Using a chair to run off of. Man, this is a great conversation. I don't know why I enjoyed talking just like the rules of wrestling with you so much, Jimmy.
But rules matter, and they should matter because it helps in the storytelling of the match, and it helps with like we talked about a little while back with Sean X-Pac. It helps in the storytelling, especially to help with the heel who manipulates the rules to his advantage and manipulates the referee without making the referee look like like with the glasses and the
Sure. What about Bianca using her braid as a weapon, like at Mania?
See, again, now you're falling into a gray area. If she's using it to kind of hit someone with, it's kind of like using a body part.
Okay.
Like an arm or leg, but you can't. It's like you can't use your arm to choke somebody, right?
No, you can't.
You can't use your hair to choke somebody either.
Right. Sure. But she she used it as a weapon against Sasha Banks and whipped her so hard it cut her real bad in the back.
I know it's that braid. I was looking at it last night and I was going to my wife. That is thick. That is really thick, and I can only imagine how much that hurts. I'd rather get hit with the kendo stick.
Yeah, dude, that looked really, really brutal. What happened to her back? I felt bad for her there. Well, one of the last things I wanted to comment on: Sami Zayn defeated Kevin Owens with the Helluva kick. Rollins beat Cesaro. Zayn beat Owens. SmackDown side, they put over their upper mid-card heels going into fans coming back. I thought both matches were really good, and I thought it was just a nice bit of placement for both men. And good for Sami. I guess Sami hadn't won a single TV match like since October 2020 or something like that. That's wild.
Has it been that long? Oh my goodness! See, I knew it's been a while, but you knew they were going to have a good match because those guys know each other so well. It's almost like they don't have to think about things, but at the same time, they told a great story. Both guys took their time. Everything was put in a place, and everything big meant something, as opposed to just going, gangbusters and having a fireworks display, so to speak.
Yeah.
Same with sorry to cut you off. And same with Cesaro and Seth, the same thing. Big moves, but also both guys sold very well, told a great story. And again, a lot of people complained about the roll-up. I didn't mind the roll-up finish there.
Sure.
Because it's an actual wrestling move in a wrestling match.
Yeah. I think it's just like the double finish thing, right? Like for there it was great. I just don't. I think a lot of fans would say probably maybe not for the sell, right? Something more impactful. Yeah. I like Sammy and Owens because like they've worked together so much. They could just get away with just like slap fights on the ground where they hit each other real hard that just look like what you just don't see in other matches. Like I just like watching them fight. They're just so comfortable with each other,
Yeah. It's almost like if they had a game of backgammon, they'd probably make that exciting in some form or fashion. I don't know.
All right. So and lastly here coming out of Hell in a Cell, I didn't watch it on Roku. I watched it on my smart TV. I did not have personally any streaming issues with Peacock last night, but a lot of people did. Did you have any issues with you were watching on the network though, weren't you?
Yeah, because up here in Canada, we still have the WWE network proper. And I was watching on the network. And other than a slight little glitch during Charlotte's entrance where it just kind of digitized a little bit, other than that, nothing. Yeah, everything seemed fine. So I don't know what the issue is. Obviously, unfortunately, in this technologically advanced world, stuff like that is a potential to happen. And sorry to those who had to deal with it last night.
It's just such a bummer because, like, I don't want to talk ill of Peacock because Peacock has actually been really nice to me and the site and everything. And like, they seem like genuinely very good people. But it feels like I'm kind of back to the early days of the WWE network. Right. And I know that there's like a more robust, flushed out version of the network that's readily available elsewhere, and I just don't have access to it at the moment.
Yeah. Like I said, we're still fortunate up here in Canada to have the network proper with the on-demand stuff. So cool.
Also here, moving down the news list, the Observer reported 36 to 37,000 tickets have been sold for Summerslam. So they're about 3,000-4,000 away from being at maximum capacity as listed by Ticketmaster. So great news for them. I was talking to a buddy who's very influential in the boxing world yesterday, and he was telling me how big of a deal this Pacquiao fight is going to be and how crazy it is that WWE is running SummerSlam the same night in the same town as this Pacquiao fight. He thinks it's going to be absolute madness in the city of Vegas that night.
Oh my goodness! If there's one town I'd want to be in on a particular night, it's that one. If you want to get back in the swing of things, but it's interesting because it sounds like they have it set up for less than the entire stadium, the facility there.
Right.
So I guess depending on demand, if need be, they can expand it. Maybe they've got two sets of plans so that if this thing does really, explode, so to speak, it could expand the capacity.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, well, I read that, if people, if they end SummerSlam early could try to make it over to the Pacquiao fight. He's like, dude, do you know how crazy the strip is going to be that night? Do you know how like bonkers traffic is going to be? Nobody's moving anywhere that night,
And I could just see the fans from both kind of congregating and the wrestling, the boxing fans yelling at the wrestling fans about that stuff over there. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I'll show you.
Well, and that was another thing we were talking about, just like the Vegas kind of hotels and stuff. They're probably not going to be showing SummerSlam that night. Unfortunately, they're probably going to be showing the Pacquiao fight and all the hotels and stuff around the city that night.
Yeah. Oh, you might get one TV in the bar out of the 13 that
I'm not a boxing person, but he was telling me that like this could be like Pacquiao's retirement fight or whatever, and that seems like a big deal,
Yeah. Again, boxing is not my forte except for the Brawl for All series, but that's another story for another day. But it is a big deal in the boxing world, and I can see where it's going to be a huge gathering in Vegas. It's going to be amazing.
Well, as we're getting ready to go back out in front of fans, looks like WWE is maybe bringing some names from NXT up to the main roster. The Observer also saying that Karrion Kross and Scarlett as well as NXT North American champion Bronson Reed were backstage at SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Reed and Cross brought in to work dark matches as a way for officials to get a better look at them. PW Insider then noting that Cross took on Dolph Ziggler, Reed faced Bobby Roode. Cross and Scarlett are going to return this week, potentially to do promos. No plans yet for Reed as this writing, but this year's draft is expected to be August 30th for Raw, September 3rd for SmackDown. So WWE may be getting an early look at these stars that might be making to the main roster is what they're saying here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know people are saying, well, why don't the officials just look at the tapes that they got down there? And so it's it's like with an audience, having an audience present. Vince McMahon and some of the top officials there do not go to NXT to watch it live. It's a different feeling. It's a different atmosphere. You get a different feel watching it when two guys are working in front of you. Right. So that's why they did it that way, so that, you can get that live feel as opposed to like, this is just on tape. It's very interesting. I'm wondering if NXT, what would be cool for me that with this draft coming up, I know they're saying, Raw and SmackDown are having a draft and they could probably draft guys from NXT. Why can't NXT draft guys from Raw and SmackDown? That would be cool for me.
It's a great question. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah,
no, I'd love to see, we saw Finn Balor go back and basically rejuvenate his career back in NXT. I'm sure it could work for a lot of guys. And then that would elevate the NXT product and take it out of that stigma, maybe a little bit of it being a developmental brand, and make it feel like it's more on a level par with Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, for sure. Even the guys that are used in the dark matches here, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode. Bobby was great in NXT, never really seems to have clicked, right? Much like Finn Balor, I could see another turn in NXT maybe being for the better for a guy like Bobby.
I'm wondering if it's because NXT feels like it's more of a different audience, more of a hardcore wrestling audience, as opposed to the casual fan, so to speak, that may still tune into Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, and I love Regal and Samoa Joe as the authority figures over in NXT right now. I would love to see them representing their brand in the room with like Shayna Baszler and Adam Pearce and stuff. I could see that going. That'd be pretty nice, actually. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I love the fact that you got two guys in authority positions that could really handle themselves in situations if need be, which is really cool.
Yeah. So I want to bring up real quick with Cross. Now Braddock saying I like carrying Cross and Scarlett on the main roster. I like Cross and Scarlett on the main roster too. What I don't understand is why Cross is still champion, right? And I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that maybe Vince and Hunter were working together. I'm not 100% clear on that, but it would seem a fatal five-way where there's any number of ways Karrion Kross could not be involved in the finish whatsoever, handcuff him to the set, drop a pile of bricks on him, have Adam, Pete Dunne pin Adam Cole. If this guy's gonna be moving to SmackDown, that seemed like the shot to have the title come off of him and protect him. I don't understand what's happening in that regard.
Yeah, I don't get it either, unless there's see, you're right. In a fatal five-way, that's the perfect scenario where you can have him pinned by a forklift or something like that. You know what I mean? Or anything to keep him out of the picture and not involved in the finish whatsoever. But then again, is there something to him getting drafted to SmackDown, but on the provision he has to relinquish the NXT championship, and now you can have a tournament to crown a new NXT champion? I don't know. Maybe that's a route they can take. And would there be that interest there for a tournament for that NXT championship? I think when was the last time we saw a tournament for one of the major titles?
I mean, well, they did the Dusty Rhodes Classic. That's where they put the NXT tag titles on MSK only a couple months ago.
Yeah, but put the main title on there, in a tournament and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it was maybe I'd have to go back when Balor dropped the title last time due to injury. I think it's the last time they had their main title put up. Yeah. I think may have been it. Well, I hear I see Joseph and Diddy here, by the way, saying I hope Vince doesn't ruin Cross. I mean, look at Priest; he's been missing. Yeah, I hope the Cross does well on the main roster. It's always a bit of a crapshoot these days. Where is Damian Priest? That's a good question.
I don't know. Maybe he's going to be in the next Bad Bunny video or something like that. I don't know. There again, another opportunity missed, for lack of a better term. It's so difficult because when we see the presentation of these guys on NXT, and there's obviously a different feel there, and then they get brought up to the main roster, and all of a sudden, it feels like too many hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah,
everybody wants to get a piece of it, and then everybody has a different vision, and
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Sometimes stick with what's working until it's not working, and then you change direction. Don't change it before it's stale. Let's put it that way.
And I don't count out that like Hunter had plans for Cross, and Vince was like, sure. Great. And then one day Vince just wakes up and is like, well, we got rid of Broad, we got rid of Alistair. Who are your best guys down there? They're like, well, Cross is the champ. He's like, well, give me Cross. It just completely blew up whatever Hunter had planned. I do not discount that actually happening either.
Well, there is the one man that has say over everyone, so we know who that is. VKM is the initials.
So Samantha, you're saying, won't they have TakeOver before the draft? I do believe the Great American Bash, I think, is before the draft. I think you're right about that. So there'll be a chance to do a title change. Daniel Price saying, I've got a hunch they're building for tension between Joe and Cross, and Joe makes him go night, and he becomes the NXT champ. Maybe all this authority figure stuff with Joe is just red herring. He is actually going to come back and battle for that title.
No, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I kind of like Joe where he's at right now, and obviously we don't know the situation with his, the concussion protocol and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to even speculate on that because we don't know. So I kind of like him in this current role of being the hands-on authority figure when provoked.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, I mean, and he was good in that role where he knocked out Adam Cole backstage this past week as well.
Yeah, because you could see it was like Adam Cole said, "Wait a minute, he did put his hands on me," like,
Well, and the dynamic between Joe and Regal is great because they feel like mob bosses, right? Like they feel like they do, right? Like they feel like they're doing payoff. I mean, there's just like a vibe there of those two where I wouldn't mess with that management team.
No, I totally hear you. Like I said, two legit bad A's. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. It's cool to see. I'm enjoying it. It's been 1 week, but I've enjoyed it for the 1 week we've seen it so far.
We have a bunch of people asking, by the way, and I'll just use Jason Lupo as an example, but he's asking what's really going on with Keith Lee, and we don't really know what's going on with Keith Lee.
No, I wish I had an answer for you. I think they're just not sure which way they want to present him. That's the only thing. Like they're trying to find a path for him, and you don't want to present him as just another big guy, but he is a big guy that can do. He's very athletic. Maybe if I don't want to say it's a weakness in his game, but we haven't seen a lot of personality from him since coming to the main roster. I want to see Keith Lee. I don't want to see someone playing Keith Lee, if that makes sense.
I liked him and Mia so much in NXT when they were feuding with the Garganos. Like because it is kind of noticeable that Mia Yim, there were all these reports she was going to be showing up on SmackDown, as Retribution, maybe back to Mia Yim, whatever. Just hasn't manifested, right? Like she's out as much as he is at the moment. I really enjoy. I thought they seemed happy down in NXT. If that's where they wind up again next, if whatever is going on, Keith is kind of. I mean, Keith himself has put out statements that would make you think something is going on here right now, where something is not right or well. So
right. So maybe again, maybe they're. I'm trying to find the right words for it.
But here's the thing. Muhammad's got it right. Keith's going to win Money in the Bank. For everybody, we don't know what's going on with them right now. The plan is they're going to come back and win Money in the Bank, largely.
Right? Oh, that would be awesome. Can you imagine Keith Lee coming out? Or Keith Lee comes out in a salmon jacket and looks like he's going to call it quits. I don't know.
And then Cena comes out, he lays him out for sure. Yeah. No, I think, I mean, Keith Lee would be great Money in the Bank. There's a lot of people, Finn Balor, a lot of people asking where Finn Balor's at right now. Sure.
Right.
Do you wait for a draft? Do you just bring him over for no reason? I don't know.
That's the problem. That I don't like the bringing them over for no reason. Have a purpose to it. Other than coming out and saying, I demand a title match.
All right. We also have an update here about Becky Lynch. PW Insider reporting that she was training in the ring at the Performance Center last week. Her visit was described as part of the process for a return to the company. She was seen working in the ring with NXT Women's Tag Team Champion Indy Hartwell. And besides training, she was also at the Performance Center to watch some of the PC live matches that have been going on this week between talent. So these PC live shows are in-house events featuring NXT and developmental talents competing in the ring. Several WWE executives, coaches, and producers were together last week to watch practice matches and the actual PC Live event, including John Laurinaitis, Bruce Pritchard, Canyon Ceman, Jamie Noble, and Matt Bloom. Becky Lynch was backstage also at SmackDown and at Hell in a Cell. Sounds like she's physically in incredible shape right now. So another one, she's going to win Money in the Bank. She's come back. She's going to win it, right? I don't know. In the wings.
No, there's a lot of people waiting for Becky Lynch to come back and make that surprise. The only thing, and I hate to say this, the only thing I don't like that news getting out there that she isn't, because now people are looking forward to her coming back. And yes, we are looking forward to her coming back, but I would have much rather she just showed up. It's a surprise, whether it's against Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, to show them who's boss, so to speak. I would have preferred that, because especially right now in the Charlotte, and I'm going off on a left turn here, especially in the Charlotte Rhea situation where trying to figure out who's the heel and who's the babyface. We know Charlotte's a heel. Rhea is
she's also a heel.
Yeah, I mean, maybe have Becky come out to be that definitive Stone Cold-ish babyface on the female side.
Yeah, and I saw a fan here. I don't know if I'd be this blunt about it, but Daniel Price saying Ripley's keeping the belt warm for Becky right now. You called it out, that Rhea Charlotte dynamic needs something there right now.
Exactly, and like we've talked about before, and I've said it a million times, this industry is how many years old, and since day one, it has been good versus evil. And the only time we've had the occasional kind of tweener, so to speak, but even as a tweener, The Rock was either a heel or a babyface. Stone Cold was either a heel or a babyface, even though they were kind of tweeners. But you knew the distinction. Now there just seems to be a lot of gray area, and I don't like gray area. I like there to be a distinct, hey, you're the heel, you're the babyface. That's it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly. That's why Ray and Roman work so well on Friday night. Mm-hmm. That's why probably my favorite match of the WrestleMania or the Hell in a Cell weekend, right?
Yeah.
I just thought it was easy thing to follow.
And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because right now I think the guy that is really excelling and at the top of, maybe if you had to have a ranking and who's Roman Reigns is the guy right now. He totally gets it. And it's not just, we're not talking about technically in the ring. He does everything well, whether it's in the ring, on the mic, his facial reactions, everything he's doing is just spot on right now.
Yeah. Anthony Aztec Y saying maybe Becky shows up on SmackDown and enters herself for the Money in the Bank match. There is that SmackDown, that July 16th one, and then July 18th is Money in the Bank. I do wonder, is it just a cavalcade of everybody comes back on that July 16th show before Money in the Bank? Becky, Brock, Edge, John Cena. Do you put them all on one show? Do you spread them out a little bit? Like, what do you do in this situation? We have so many big names in the wing.
For me, one or two big names is cool. If you start putting everybody on and you then it loses its cachet, so to speak. It's like when you do 3 or 4 different twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splashes in a match. When you do that, not one of them stands out. You don't remember, you want that one to stand out. So if Brock does come back, you want Brock to be the guy that people remember. You don't want to say Brock came back, but so did Edge and so did Becky and so did it. No, you want that one person to stand out and you want to go, man, look at that. Brock is back or whoever it is. And he looks amazing. He looks like he's ready to fight. That's what you want. You want that memory.
I want somebody to go back and write down that move you just called. Remember that 450 Phoenix,
twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash.
Wow. Is that a real thing? Have you seen what is this? You make this up? What's happening right now?
I don't know. I think I've seen a variation of something similar before, but yeah.
This is so specific. So many people are just like, too many flippy flops. You're like, no, here's a very specific, crazy thing. I see too much.
Yeah. As long as they don't do it on the ring apron, because that's the hardest part of the ring. So
you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So, and also real quick before we jump, because we have one more bit of Performance Center news. Are these common? These like private shows at the Performance Center, or how? Like, is there anything you can compare this to? I've never heard anything like this. What they're talking about.
Well, it's kind of like even back in the FCW days, they would have matches. It's almost like a private live event for the executives that come down and see, and who they feel shows a lot of potential, who they think they could work with, and who they think. I guess sometimes they bring in talent that is not under contract to give them a tryout. It happens there as well. It's been going on for a long time. It's a way for them to judge who they feel might be next in line to get a little bit of a push, or so to speak.
Sure. Huh. So the practice of performing in front of no fans is not uncommon, I guess, to the wrestlers pre-pandemic. I guess there is some precedent. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Performance Center, the Observer saying people within WWE are giving heavy praise to the potential of the, quote, real athletes in the current Performance Center recruit camps. Bronson Reichsteiner, son of wrestling legend Rick Steiner, among those receiving significant praise. The Casper brothers, Jacob and Drew, top college wrestlers, also praised, as is top college wrestler Bobby Stevenson, the older brother of Gable Stevenson, who's going to the Olympics. Bobby's scheduled to officially start with WWE on the roster in the next class, and these aforementioned wrestlers are all being praised for how well they're picking things up, conditioning, and attitude. Now, it is interesting, though, that top prospect Parker Bordeaux was distinctly not mentioned as being in the same category as these other new recruits being praised. Bordeaux made headlines before signing with WWE due to, of course, how he's being compared physically to a young Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, it's interesting going that route where you use the quote again, using the air quotes again, real sport athletes, so to speak. All the superstars are athletes. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
You have to be able to do what they do. But taking guys out of college and stuff like that, again, it's a bit of a crapshoot. They're getting some rave reviews on some of these guys, and we'll see. I mean, some grasp it. Like when I look back at someone like a Kurt Angle and see how well he grasps. Again, it all depends on how these guys can relate to the audience, how their character can be transformed, and get people invested in them while still being partially themselves at the same time. Because we see I bring Kurt Angle up as an example for sure, because here's an Olympic medalist who we saw the goofy side of Kurt Angle, we saw the serious side of Kurt Angle, but all those sides of Kurt Angle we saw were parts of Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. And that's what gets over when people, I think people are smarter nowadays and can see when you are being yourself or playing a character, and hopefully these guys find themselves and they flourish, but time will tell, I guess.
Physically, I have no idea how any of these guys are really taken. I don't know what their footwork looks like. I don't know if Parker Bordeaux gets in there and he trips when he tries to jump over the top rope. I've seen none of that. But what I have seen is that Parker Bordeaux understands social media. Like, when you talk about a guy who is able to bring his personality and relate to the audience directly, there is not one person in that Performance Center. I would say maybe better than 60% of the NXT current roster that understands social media as good as Parker. This guy has built attention around himself in like 8 months that is very, very noticeable. He is constantly on my Twitter feed in one way or another. In that regard, again, physically, I have no idea if he's taken to the business or not. I would hope so. He looks like a specimen. But on that level of, do I get the fans and how to interact with them and get them invested? I think he gets that.
Yeah, it's amazing how this business has changed from protecting yourself so much from fans and stuff like that. When you went out and you did autograph signings, you did it as the Undertaker. You did it as, the persona. Now you're on social media, and you have to get over on social media as well as you have to get over on TV. It's there's so many aspects to this business now. It's expanding so much, but at the end of the day, again, it falls upon what you do in that ring and how you present yourself on television, and whether you get people invested in you. I mean, there are guys on TikTok who have 1 million followers who just lip sync and stuff like that. I mean, like, it's hard to determine what gets over nowadays. But at the end of the day, in the wrestling business and sports entertainment, whatever you want to refer to it as, you have to connect with your audience on television.
Two things here real quickly before we get to Frankie Monet and the audio portion. And again, that'll be debuting in about 15 minutes over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So we're going to get through this news, and then we'll try to take – I know there's some Jimmy-specific questions that are popping up in the comments thread. So we'll try to get to that. We'll try to get to the mailbag, everything at the end of the show here. But real quick, former WWE stars Peyton Royce and Billy Kay have filed to trademark the Inspiration 2 Eyes with the USPTO. Trademark is for both merchandise and entertainment services.
Well, good for them. I mean, like that was a head scratcher when they were released too. Obviously, in a business world, you do make cuts at times for whatever reasons. Whether it's budgetary, whatever you claim it to be. But at the same time, you have an act like this that actually resonated with an audience, and you saw the social media backlash when people found out so good for them to trademark something and try to market themselves. And again, thank you to social media for them to be allowed to continue to flourish as a team. And I'm glad that they recognize that they work well together instead of going their own separate ways.
Yeah, they're going to be somewhere big here in about a month or so. Yeah. Maybe they'll go all out with whatever they do next.
I see what you did there.
All right, lastly here, maybe my favorite story of the weekend. GCW Outlaw Mud Show, an actual thing that happened. This took place at Albany County Fairgrounds in Laramie, Wyoming, featuring the Ricky Morton wrestling in his 50th state. He's now wrestling all 50 because of this show. So the main event featured GCW World Champion Nick Gage versus Mance Warner in a bunkhouse brawl match. Things got wild enough during the main event where 8 police officers showed up to question Mance Warner and Nick Gage for the concession stand brawl that happened during the match. This, according to Joey Janela, who shared a clip backstage of the police interrogating people, I guess, or questioning them. And he said in the video, so the cops here thought the Mance Gage match was real and got too out of control. There are cops here all over. This is pretty wild. It's still real here in Wyoming.
Yeah, I think there are parts of the country where they still think it's real, but at the same time, this is the difference between smaller promotions and big. Obviously, in a bigger promotion, let's say WWE, the concession stand and the police would get the iggy that this is what's going to happen, and maybe they weren't aware that it was going to go too far. Maybe they called an audible while they were out there brawling in the concession stands or something like that, and did a little more damage than they expected. And from what I understand from Nicky Boy there, he has a habit of doing that sometimes. But I love the fact that the police were called in, because now it brings a different kind of attention. And unfortunately, there's going to be that element out there that's going to say, well, don't the police know that this is a work and stuff like that? But hey, when you get them questioning it, you're doing something right, at least anyways. Yeah. As long as you're getting people, questioning the validity of hey, I thought this was supposed to be a work. No.
I was like, this is like a badge of honor, I think, for them, where they're like, oh yeah, we're the show that like the cops thought it was real. I think that's something you can kind of lean into.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That could be your banner on your website there.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank Jimmy for joining me at the top show, talk all the news today, Hell in a Cell Fallout. Thank you for everybody for being in the comment section. Thank you to Frankie Monet. Unchained, it drops on demand July 2nd. Go check it out. She looks like she kicks a lot of ass in that film. And of course, tomorrow night, you'll see her on NXT doing the encore of her world premiere, whatever that may be tomorrow night. She was very coy in the interview about it. So today, the mailbag question stems around Roman Reigns. I just want to know, who do you want to see him feud next with? I asked the Usos, Seth Rollins, John Cena, or somebody else. Almost 400 votes here. 53% say John Cena, 24.8% Seth Rollins, 12.7% the Usos, and we have 9.5% for some other write-in. Jimmy, who ideally would you like to see Roman Reigns feud with next?
Next, I like the family issue right now. I know Cena is a big name out there, and people want to see him. If you have a match with Cena, maybe at SummerSlam, but leading up to that, I like the conflict within the family, either Jimmy or Jay or whoever it happens to be. I want to see that continue first, and then that leading up to maybe a John Cena, and then somewhere down the road, maybe another family member jumps in the fray.
Sure, yeah, Rikishi, right? One more run.
Sure. Oh, you know what? That would be. You kind of half joke there, but at the same time, that would be kind of cool to have Rikishi come back and have him take out, one of the OGs of the family.
Yeah, I look, I'm a Rikishi fan. I say it in jest, but then you're like, no, Nick, that's a real thing that could happen. And I'm like, you've sold me, Jimmy. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? As long as he can still go. He looks like he can still go. So
yeah, and I mean the only other one that would be within reach it, I think Jacob Fatu, but he's signed to MLW right now. So
yeah.
But I'd love to see this. As would I'd love to see Gorillas of Destiny for that matter in this.
Yeah, family issues feel real. At one point, somebody has experienced it in one way or another.
At 6 Rings 9880, when the hell is Slapjack going to get the title? Long overdue. Just don't see it happening.
The longer it's overdue, the better for me.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, sometimes you got to be, right? Hey, there you go. See, cheap plug.
There we go. At Mike Jones, I think Drew McIntyre answers Roman's open challenge on Friday. Is he got an open challenge on Friday? Is that what's going on?
I didn't hear it unless I missed it. But if there is an open challenge, I don't want it to be Roman. I don't want it to be Drew.
I'm going to Google here real quick. Roman Reigns. Oh, here. Yeah, this happened a day ago. Oh, basically, Paul Heyman reacted to Reigns' victory and issued an open challenge this coming Friday to anyone who wants to step up to the Universal Champion. So I did not know that. That is I would think Dominic would be the one to step up, though.
You would think, but and then there's another opportunity for Roman Reigns to be dastardly and diabolical and get more heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Addy 10_7, the last man to have pinned him, i.e. Baron Corbin. No, thank you. No,
not happening. No.
He's not even the king anymore.
No. I mean, I enjoyed that little rivalry with Shinsuke Nakamura, but yeah, he's no longer King Corbin, so he's out.
At JJF 31624, it'll be John Cena at SummerSlam. I think a lot of people agree with that. At Wrestling Pass, Dominic would make sense. I don't know about the next feud, but I definitely could see him showing up on Friday, giving it his all and coming up short.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an extended thing. It could be like the one night where he just gets, totally obliterated. And, man, again, more heat on Roman.
And then we have here from at Metalhead T425, Karrion Kross would just be way too soon for me to get to Kross right now, personally.
Yeah, where does he fit in? That's the other problem. Again, does he? I like the fact that you said maybe upper middle card. He challenges somebody there, but then again, there's that who's upper middle card. You know what I mean? At this point, especially if he comes in as a heel, who's an upper middle card babyface?
Question here from the comments section here, moving away from Twitter, at Anthony Aztec Y. Hey, Nick, I want to ask Jimmy, does he know if people can get tryouts in WWE or NXT? Because I know they have wrestler tryouts. Just curious, how do referees get tryouts?
I wish I could speak to how it's done today, but I'm sure that they keep an eye out on referees as well. There are a few people down there who are, when they're watching, trust me, they are watching other promotions out there like MLW, like other indie promotions, and Scotty Armstrong is the ref coach down there, so maybe buzz him. Sorry, Scotty, I threw you out there, but he's the referee coach down there. So
all right, let's see here. We have from Antonio Garcia, Roman needs to settle things with Jimmy and clarify his role, I guess, before fans come back. So maybe Jimmy is the one that Roman faces on Friday or something.
That Jimmy. Okay. I was going to say, I have no problem with Roman. I'm not messing with him. So,
no. Well, maybe they meant you. Maybe they were like, the open challenge, Jimmy. That'd be good TV. That'd be fun.
No, that ain't happening. Trust me. I don't want to get thrown over the top rope and landing on anything.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Uso showing up this Friday to challenge Roman Reigns or Jay, who I guess was mysteriously absent this past Friday night on SmackDown. We don't know what's going on quite yet either. So,
right. Yeah. Again, a family matter would make perfect sense.
All right. Lastly, here, I'll just read one more. Anthony Aztec, I will say they will have The Rock versus Reigns next year in Dallas at WrestleMania. Got to go big in Texas. And yeah, man, last time they were in WrestleMania in Dallas, I was at that show, man. Were you at the big Dallas show, 100,000 plus people?
Yep. I was there. I was there for Aftermath, and it was like, it was awesome, dude. The scary part is, I got to kind of see some old friends, and that for me was the special moment. Yes, the show itself was special, but for me, getting to reconnect with some old friends, even Tony Chimmel, I have to say it, but it was cool for me. And then to take in that atmosphere down there, it's insane when you're there live. It's just a different experience altogether.
Yeah, man, 100,000 people in one place for anything is crazy. And then you
Yeah.
make them all hardcore wrestling fans and you drop like The Rock in the middle of it. And I've literally never felt anything like being in that building. I was up pretty high too. And I was like feeling all the energy kind of pushing up. So
Yeah, no, it was incredible. Totally agree.
all right, everybody. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. A lot of positive stuff about you in the comments today section, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Maybe, when this all lines up, the stars line up, we'll do another live one down the road. We'll have you back. This was great.
Cool. No, it was awesome, man. I enjoyed chatting with you, Nick. It's always a pleasure. And thank you to the Wrestling Inc. Daily audience for allowing me to rant and rave about whatever the heck I'm ranting about, whether it's whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Anytime. I'm an open book. One thing you're going to get from me is honesty, whether I try to not be as negative as some people, that's a different story, but I'm always honest. That's the one thing.
Hey, we appreciate it, Jimmy. You're a wonderful voice for the community, so you are always welcome here. All right. Well, hey, before we wrap it up today, Jimmy, I just want to let everybody know I'll be back tomorrow. I will be joined tomorrow by Second City Chicago's EJ Cameron. We'll be talking the news of the day. Also on the show tomorrow, you're going to hear my latest conversation with Cameron, or former Cameron, Arian Andrew. She's got a new single out, Born With It, a remix version of it. You're going to find out about all of that tomorrow. Also, if you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all your favorite social media platforms. And, of course, the Wrestling Inc. podcast goes live tonight after Raw, and it goes live after all the major shows throughout the week and after pay-per-views. All right, Jimmy, what do you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
Well, of course, you can catch me on my social media accounts at Jimmy Korderas on Twitter for my daily ref and rants, which I have the cheap plug for right here. This is the mug made by the lovely Mrs. Korderas. And you can get your ref and rant t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/Jimmy Korderas. And there are two styles of shirts, one with the ref and duck, and you get a ref and zebra as well. And also, hey, Instagram at Real Jimmy Korderas. And you can find me every once in a while here talking to Nick. And you never know where I might pop up next.
Yeah, you never know, everybody. Friday night, Roman Reigns has this open challenge. It's been put out there. Jimmy's going to answer it.
I don't know about that one. I don't want to. Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe.
I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. The interview with Frankie Monet starts in 2 minutes on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So leave this, go in there. I'll jump in the chat room. We can all talk as you watch me and Frankie chop it up. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.